All right. Identification of research problem. In this module, and we will talk about how to select research questions, how to develop research problem of statement, right? And then on what are components, what are other variation, like for example, research statement, how to state that problem. What's difference between research statement and research hypothesis and research questions and etc etc. And then we will getting into types of variable, constant, independent variable, and dependent variable, that kind of thing, right? Those are three chunk of thing we will learn in this particular module, right? Um, Selection of research problem or developing statement of problem, right? Think about this. You always start with what's wrong. Everything's fine, and not other people are not interested in. Why? Because everything is fine. How are you? I'm fine. That's it. If you is someone who love, hey, if you ask how are you, tell I got something. During my registrations and during my relationship in my job, I need your help, and then we will start to doing actionable, steps. So we're getting in. But what is understanding? What is burning problem? Right? There's many problem out there, and you have to find out what is a big problem, something you can solve. Right? Hey, look at this. This is big issue. I got a solution, and then everybody start to interested in what is solution, and then you start to what propose. I mean, demonstrate your solution in a logical way, systematic way, and valid way, and reliable way, and turning into what some kind of outcome with journal article write up, and then with text, or nowadays what blogging it, right, and vlogging it. Well, you just create video to how you did it, how you solved that problem, and people start excited, and that turns out what very good contribution. Sometimes you don't have to solve you know the entire world, just small problem. That problem other people might not care, that's okay, but you can justify this is a problem for this person, and this is we have to do, this is important, this is doesn't work, we have to improve this. I know how to improve, I know how to change, right? Scientific way, right? And generalizable way, and valid way, and reliable way. And if you demonstrate, that will be great, right? So understanding problem is very important. And how you do it, how you find out that insight borrowed from other experts, or you, if you're thoughtful enough, if you're watching other people, right, and where they are struggling, and you're able to find out those things. Experts are knowledgeable, good, but if you don't have a thoughtful mind, and you cannot find the problem. Experts are typically what had a very thoughtful on one particular issues, and then they spend years of years to try to solve that problem, and that is a natural way of becoming an expert. I've been around in here to solve these issues for a long time. That is another way of what I am. She is expert in that particular idea, right? So you have to understand what is a problem, right? And issues and trend, same thing. It's also increasing. Which one is solved? What is a new problem arising nowadays, right? It was no longer a problem anymore because the things change, right? So keep changing it, right? And then you have to up to date those things are changed. So where is the best how you can update yourself? Go to professional society meeting, conferences, and every year they providing new ideas and new solutions and new trends and new issues around that particular area. So you can update. That is how you become expert. And the reading, meeting, sharing, again, around where? Problem not being solved, right? If you if you want to be an expert, I'm not talking about PhD, doctor, super duper doctor, and professors. I'm talking about professionals, value propositions, and what is your value as a professional, right? Hey, and I can solve this problem. I've accumulated experience solving this problem. That is the best way. Otherwise, I know this. Yeah, there's a library. Libraries and has problem has been solved before. People Google up. But if you want to be a propositions and you understand the problem is not fully solved, right? And then you got some experience and insight how to tackle that problem. And then people start to value and you'll become valuable. As big as rocket science, as small as relationship, right? You know how to, you understand what's wrong, right? And then you understand, how to dealing with that issue, right? And then also, when you select research problem or topic, right, there's a two different aspects of the research topic. One is intellectual merit or academic, innovative innovations. And if you got a new one, people start to interested. In academia, people really, really cares about what? New one, new idea. The other aspect is practical merit with broad impact and ready to impact onto practice immediately, which is related to what? Oh yeah, if this one is applicable and these things can be used by many people, and this one improve a lot of people's solving problems, right? Solution for improving efficiency of solutions, right? That kind of stuff. For and broad impact is huge, but not necessarily new, not necessarily innovative. Sometimes you're clever, and not that much, academically intellectual merit is not that much high, but it works. Why? A lot of people take advantage of. More like lower level, but it's close to what? Practice, close to real life, right? Intellectual merit is what? Not ready, but we need to invest. Maybe 10 years and 20 years, it will work. Even though we are not ready right now, tomorrow the practice doesn't change, but we still need to improve our academic things, and we have to discover, right? And more like basic science. We have to invest. Whether we will, the stars and thousands of miles away, shape, exploded, won't matter tomorrow, right? But we have to understand. We have to find those kind of innovation thing. And in academia, we cares about both, right? You have to judge. If it's very ideal, it's innovative and broad impact, intellectual merit is huge, and also broad impact is huge, that's good. You have to justify it. And you find out what is big deal about your problem. Solution about the problem is how much is valuable. You can try to justify it in the two characteristic as much as you can. All right. Once again, don't forget intellectual merit is one aspect, which is academic value, innovation. And then also the other one is what? Broad impact. It's more like a practical value and ready to apply and ready to influence, right? And the real world, right? As quickly as possible, as soon as possible. All right. Once you find out the topic, and then we start to develop statement research problem and or purpose of research. Sometimes you, yeah, like for example, how you develop statement of research problem or purpose of research and statement of research, etc., right? First step could be just write down topic, very, one sentence, less than 30 words, right? And describe the best of what you like to do, what you has been done in one sentence. And then next one is what? More like one paragraph type of thing, statement. It could be 5 paragraph to 1 paragraph. What exactly you do, purpose of your research or activity of research, you summarize. This research designed to answer these research questions or testing this hypothesis or demonstrate this one to improve this or answering these research questions related to relationship between two things, right, etc. So like more like a one sentence to a couple of pages research statement. That one including sometimes abstract. Now, if you have like a couple of pages, it becomes a big dissertation. Abstract, background, small version of background, small version of significance of study, and small version of what procedure, what you've done it, small version of conclusion and implication. So that is more like abstract. Sometimes people make it as a 300 words. Sometimes they do it 500 words, which is a couple of pages, right? Statement of research is very important, right? I know you can razzle dazzle, you can talk, but you also need to write down. And when you write down without additional piece of information, other people need to understand what you like to do. If we, I think this week, I think probably next week, even this class, we will exercise some research statement. And whenever you come up with a research statement, it becomes a very wordy. Other people have no idea what you are talking about, which is not good. Why? Because it's just you overly complicated the situation. Make it simple and hit to the point. What you like to do, what is problem, what you like to do it in this research. Are you going to demonstrate? Are you going to show, right? Are you going to see the relationship, right? Investigate to understand what's going on, right? Are you going to testing your hypothesis, right? You have to very, very pinpoint into your statement. Statement and hypothesis. Okay, statement is like, more like a purpose of study, the gist of work, what you do. Um, let's do it. Like, for example, teaching technique and achievement, math achievement. Effect of the my new teaching technique, blah, 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 onto student achievement, blah, blah, blah. Sixth grade math. That could be just the one, your dissertation title or your research title, right? And statement could be a study of effect of three teaching techniques, effects of teaching techniques on science achievement of junior high school students in the United States. That is more like a longer version of statement, right? And then you can think about your own topic and statement. Just write down, I will give you 1 minute to think about it. And then um, to finish this topic and statement. Have that topic, right, and statement ready. We will use that one as a next step. Okay, so let's say we able to write down the one sentence version or two sentence version of statement, right? Research statement. I like to do this. I like to investigate this one, right? And then we will understand research hypothesis. Research hypothesis is different from statement because research hypothesis now need to pinpoint of the specific problem. It's like more detail. Is this improve effect of this particular thing on like need to be more specific. You understand? So whenever you want to writing a hypothesis, you have to be specific Next one, you must include expected relationship between variable, the key factors. Teaching method is one factor, and student achievement is the other factor, right? If you want to write research hypothesis, you just say new teaching method is improve student achievement over old teaching method. You have to include that expected relationship. Or A is highly related to B. A is highly associate B, you believe, right? Again, expected relationship must getting in to becomes a research hypothesis. Research question is different. Research question you get, what is relationship? I want to see the effect. Just question format. But hypothesis, no. You must add your gut. You show your gut, what you think, what you believe, right? And the research statement is don't okay. What's difference between hypothesis and statement? Statement could may or may not include that expected relationship. Research statement may or may not specific on to pinpoint that relationship between two variables, right? You understand what I'm saying? And what's the difference between research hypothesis and statistical hypothesis? They're not exactly same. Statistical hypothesis, very specific hypothesis, testifiable through statistic, statistically testifiable. One more time. Research hypothesis and statistical hypothesis not exactly equal to each other, but most of quantitative analysis, we are testing research hypothesis statistically, and then we're setting up statistical hypothesis. Are you with me? Are you with me? If you decide to go to qualitative research, and then you can test your hypothesis, qualitative data, and then you don't need to set up statistical hypothesis. Are you with me? Some qualitative research, you need to have a hypothesis, collect empirical data, test your hypothesis. But data happen to be what data? Qualitative data. Still, you can apply qualitative analysis for hypothesis testing. Sometimes qualitative research, not hypothesis testing. I agree. I understand. But sometimes you can do hypothesis tests using qualitative data. In quantitative data, quantitative research method, we 99% of our hypothesis testing process is through statistics. That's the reason why we should understand how to set up statistical hypothesis. Null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, reject null hypothesis, blah blah. That drama starts from that statistical hypothesis. Again, research hypothesis is not exactly same, but majority method of testing our hypothesis in quantitative work happen to be statistical way in social behavior science. I mean, in hard science, they do the mathematically prove their hypothesis, drive their, analytically drive those conclusions, right? Instead of data, right? All right. Research hypothesis example. See, look at this. Strong positive relationship between divergent thinking and general IQ measure. See, they include the expected relations. I believe two things are strongly related to each other to become what? Research hypothesis. I believe strongly negative relationship between blah blah blah. Sometimes you said what? You believe no relationship. Is it viable? Yes. You believe no relationship. Gender doesn't matter with the performance. Sometimes. Some people said, well, male is better than female in that particular. You just demonstrate data. See, it's not a gender issue. It's more like experience issue. Another thing, it's not a gender issue. Sometimes you could demonstrate them. No relationship is what? What you believe. Contrast to other people believe, right? Because again, zero or no relationship is a an example of expected relationship, right? And this is another example and the statement, right? And positive effect from A to B, right? More like above and beyond association. Now you have a particular thing's effect onto the other thing, right? Something's effect, cause and effect type of relationship. Previous research statement, you have it, and then you're thinking about right now, try to develop research hypothesis from the statement you already did it. All right. Exercising, developing hypothesis out of the statement is very important. That will naturally give you understand what's difference between research statement and research hypothesis, right? All right, types of variable. Let's move on to the next topic, types of variable. When you try to develop hypothesis, and I mentioned to you what research hypothesis must include. I want to see you. Must whoa. Research hypothesis must include a relationship, expected relationship between variables, right? So in here, and I try to explain what do you mean by variable, right? Variable is any characteristic of person or things and subjects in your research as different value. A characteristic is the same value. We call it as the thing is constant. Sometimes you've been, oh yeah, my interest is Korean men's satisfaction in this job. And then every data is men. Every data need to be Korean. So two, ethnicity and gender is a fixed for that case. But sometimes you let what's difference between you're interested in contrast between genders, gender gap, international achievement, etc., etc. Right? Sometimes you really interested in what your counseling lab, what the ethnicity differences, ethnicity gap, African American contrast to others, or Latino contrast to another minority, right? That is your interest. And then ethnicity becomes a variable. Sometimes you're interested in aging issue over time, what's going on, and people getting older, what their public health and particular health behavior change over time. In that case, age is one of the most important variable. Sometimes your study is what, sixth grader, that's it. And you're interested in sixth grade, and then your population is sixth grade, and then age no longer works in that particular research. Age becomes what? Fixed, constant, right? And categorical variable is the data, how you operationalize that variable. We will talk about level of measurement, ordinary data, categorical data, continuous data later. And in our textbook, we talk about categorical variable as qualitative variable. Like instead of number, you call it as a boy, girl, pass, fail, right? You code it as a what? Status can be coded in more like qualitative way, not like a number. Pass fail is not, there's no generic number meaning, right? Pass is fail, pass fail is fail, right? You can code it as a number, but nature itself is what? More like qualitative meaning, right? Those are vocabulary. Numerical variable, some variable, yes, you can transfer, you can the size of numbers start to meaningful. We call it a quantitative variable. And also there's a discrete variable, and discrete variable is what? And had a only discrete number. There's no in between. It's a discrete variable is a quantitative variable, numerical variable, but there's no in between. Eighth grader, seventh grader. There's no you might say there's no 7.5 grader. That's it. Continuous variable is yeah, like 7 inch, 7.1 inch. Obviously, there is a some inch between 7 and 7.1, right? So there's like many details of number exist. You call it as a continuous variable, which is a special case of numerical variable. Again, discrete variable is also a special case of numerical variable. Dichotomous variable is a quantitative variable. You code it into only two categories, 0, 1, pass, fail. If you code it as a gender, right, is start from qualitative variable. If you code it as a 0, 1, 0 as a male and 1 is female, and then it becomes what? Dichotomous variable. Only two status exist in that particular variable. It's a special case of categorical variable. Categorical variable may have a multiple levels of categories, right? Dichotomous, how many level? Two levels. Dichotomous variable is also categorical variable. Are you with me? Right. Those are vocabularies, and our textbook had a much details of explanations related to those definitions. Independent variable and dependent variable. There are two variables. They're variable. Both of them are variable, and then they have a special relationship among variable. Independent variable is something controls, something impact onto the other variable. The dependent variable is it's controlled by or manipulated by another variable. So to whenever you talk about dependent variable, there is a some independent variable. Whenever you talk about independent variable, there is a dependent variable. So without dependent variable, you cannot thinking about independent variable. Without independent variable, you cannot think about dependent variable. Whenever you talk about, oh, this is independent variable, for what? On where? To what dependent variable? Oh, this is dependent variable. Oh, what are independent variable? So that is a natural. It's more like a independent dependent came out from relationship, special relationship, but cause effect and something causing out of from have influence and statistical effect or causal effect in both case they have a particular relationship between two variables. Again, independent variable arrows comes out and dependent variable arrows comes in. Independent variable affect dependent variable. Are you with me? And operational definition. Sometimes this is the thing you like to measure, like anxiety, right? Oh, depression. Oh, like sleepiness, right? But that's a construct you like to, you really cares about. We call it as a factor, construct type of thing. But how you operationalize that one turning into number? To run a quantitative analysis, we have to change that construct into number, right? So to do it, we need to define that, operationally define that one. We call it as what? Measure. The score data number came out measure is a data. Are you with me? So the data construct, some in between, there is a measure, instrument. How to turn that thing into number, right? So that is, we call it as what is the relationship between construct and what you measure. Once again, process is instrument. The data came out from that operational data. I mean, the things came out from that instrumentation. We call it as what? Number, data. Data is different from the thing you like to measure. Why? Data is the best what you did it, best approach, what you, to try to operationalize the cost of what you got it. But some other people do not agree how you define, how you operationalize the anxiety in that way. That's your definition and then your approach, right? So validity of the instrument is very important because of that reason. How much you can justify that way of collecting data and operate quantifying that depression into number is other people agree. How much you can justify the process itself. That call it as a what? Validity of instrument. It's very important. Validity of instrument sucks. What happened? Instrument sucks. What happened? Data sucks. So if you analyze that horrible data, It's a garbage in, garbage out. No matter beautiful analysis you've done it, raw material is horrible. So your conclusion is horrible. But why your raw material data is horrible? Because your instrument is horrible. You understand what I'm saying? So in social behavior science, we cares about that instrumentation issue, operationalizing issue. Sometimes we have a major degree assessment, testing, and measurement. Who cares about that process? Assessment, development, and instrument operational definitions and process, and then analyze data is very important nowadays. All right. All right. This is it for the basic concept related to identification of research problem. I think this one will help to read book and read book again, right? To understand the concepts, basic concepts. Thank you.